I think women think differently than men do. We have really strong intuition, and I think we have really strong ability to read people and understand when you're saying something to somebody and they're taking it wrong, or there's going to be a conflict in the office because you can tell the message you're about to give somebody is going to be taken a certain way, or you read a room when you walk in and you can sense the tension or you can sense the emotion. I think men can sense all those things, but they don't act on them. So they don't, like, it's almost like they don't have permission to take somebody's feelings into account when they're dealing with something. And I think women do a really good job at that.
I take the example of the chair of a publicly quoted energy company said to me when we were having a one-on-one conversation that once his board got to 45% female, he could see them as individuals, not as representative females. And he started to realize that there was so much more that they were bringing to the table, that as professionals, they were then visible and impactful. Whereas if you're one of any minority by yourself, that's very hard because you're not really seen for all you bring. And that sort of sense of your professional expertise can get lost because you are simply that representative person.
If you can bring in more women, not just one voice, but a group, it not only builds that emotional IQ, but it also encourages that diversity of opinion to come out onto the table and into the discussion. I think it's very hard for one voice solely to be bold and say something that's different from the crowd. But if there are 4 or 5 or 6 perspectives that are somewhat similar, I think that voice can be a lot louder and can even sway where you go with the firm and with the direction of your choices.
And then, of course, the perspectives that women bring, because we are acculturated differently and we think differently. We don't all think differently. We don't all think the same, but we do internalize different things, culturally. And so we bring a different perspective to circumstances. And there's plenty of information. And I've seen this time and time again in my own, when I was in private practice, that suggests that women leaders make very much, make extremely rational decisions. And I know from as a litigator, the women that I faced in litigation, I was always far more wary of, because they didn't get emotional. They wouldn't fly off the handle. They wouldn't, they were much less likely to do that, which I found to be a weakness that I could exploit when I would see that, when it's not the case with women. They're just less likely to do it. They bring a unique talent base and skill set and perspective to capital markets and more broadly to the world.
If you're not including women in your conversations, men, then you're making a big mistake. And women, if you have an all-female group at your work and you're trying to get a project done, that's 9 times out of 10 it might not be a good move either. You want diversity of thought. You want diversity of experience, because the biggest mistakes are made whenever you don't consider all of the objectives, all of the aspects of a situation. So the more experience you have in the room from all different perspectives, the better.
We all are in roles where our clients represent the community. I mean, for CalPERS, you think about your pensioners, they're not just men, they're men and women from all sorts of backgrounds. Same with NASDAQ, our clients and the beneficiaries of our clients are from all different backgrounds. So you need teams that reflect what your clients look like, what society looks like, and what the community looks like at large. And I certainly find that when my teams have diversity of thought, I do think we come to more innovative outcomes. I think we have a better dialogue. And I think, frankly, it leads to better outcomes. So there's all sorts of benefits of having women in the workforce and on our teams.
I work quite a bit with Congress, and I recall how taken I was in the 116th Congress when we had over 100 women for the first time that were elected to office. It was pretty incredible. Here we had now, for the first time, a quarter, slightly less than a quarter of the seats being served by women with just remarkable experience. I mean, veterans, business owners, heads of families. It was incredible. And the remarkable change that came with that, everything from a much more multifaceted view about the policy problems ahead of us, but also to the fact that we needed to have more maternity rooms in the halls of Congress. So I think what it really does is it brings us a much more reflective experience of what people are facing. And I think that is just a really important contribution that folks make when we have more representation.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Middleton, a member of the CalPERS board, and I also serve on the Palm Springs City Council. I certainly echo the comments made by the women in our video about the unique skill sets and perspectives that women bring to the workplace. It's a great segue to the session focused on two CalPERS women who were recently named Women of Influence in Private Markets by the publication Private Equity International, Sarah Kaur and Jane Su. They were recognized for their leadership and outstanding achievements that are helping to reshape the private markets. Through their work, they're also making room for more women to succeed. Sarah Kaur is CalPERS Managing Investment Director for Real Assets, a leadership role she was named to in 2020. She has served in the CalPERS Investment Office for 20 years. Jane Su is the CalPERS Managing Investment Director for Opportunistic Strategies. Jane was also named to her position in 2020. Jane has been with the CalPERS Investment Office since 2000, serving in a variety of leadership roles. Sarah and Jane, thank you for being here. Can you tell us about your career path leading to where you are today? What were the pivotal moments and why did you choose a career in the investment industry? Jean, would you like to start?
Sure. I was a lawyer in Taiwan. I was born and raised and educated in Taiwan. And I was a lawyer mainly focused on corporate, banking and security laws. But due to the low bar passing rate in Taiwan back then, back then it was like 2% passing rate. So those who hold a lawyer's license will have to go to the court. So I was also a litigator. And then in 1994, this reveals my age, when the Fed raises interest rates 7 times consecutively, it creates a lot of problem for the bond market. Of course, back then, I don't know much about the bond market. Okay. And then that problem is very prominent in the derivative side. So I had the opportunity to handle a case of interest rate swap disputes. But from my experience, I feel that my client had to pay me and educate me about how interest rate swap works. That for me just doesn't feel right. So I think, hey, I need to, learn some finance knowledge so that I can become a better business lawyer. At that time, I was contemplating on going abroad to have an advanced degree. So I was contemplating on either I get an advanced law degree from Cambridge University in United Kingdom, or I can go to a business school in United States. Luckily, I got a Fulbright scholarship. And then the Fulbright scholarship only allows you to attend colleges here in United States. So, coming from a developing country, our currency doesn't have much value as the US dollars. So the tuition is a big concern for me. And, all these factors contributing me to choose to go to US on a scholarship. And I ended up attending Wharton Business School in Philadelphia. Okay. And then the business school here, right? They teach you $ and present value. Okay, so I was totally brainwashed by the business school. I'm kidding, okay? I did my summer intern with Goldman Sachs. which totally opens up my horizon. I feel that, on the business, on the finance side, is more proactive, take a proactive role in the underlying economic activity, versus my previous role, like as a lawyer, is really more like reacting to what things happened and then trying to help. So at this moment, the answer becomes pretty clear to me that I want to take a more proactive role.
That's wonderful. Sarah?
So law school, I guess, is a similarity that Jean and I both have, although I didn't go. My intent as an undergrad was to go to law school. And I took the LSAT and started filling out applications. And just realized I wasn't ready to go to law school. I wasn't ready to commit 3 years to that yet. So I started applying to jobs in San Francisco, and then just decided I wanted to take a break. I was actually at a memorial service for a friend's mother yesterday, and she read a letter that her mother had written to her daughter, and giving her advice for the granddaughter, who's about to be 3. And the letter said, between 18 and 24, take time and enjoy life. And while I didn't get that letter, I did take that advice. It wasn't 18 to 24, but more like 22 to 28. I took time and enjoyed life. I moved to Vail, Colorado, and worked at the front desk of a hotel, eventually managing that, so I could ski. I traveled a lot. I lived in Wisconsin and Bend, Oregon. And after that, I decided I did need to get serious about my career. So I applied to business schools for an MBA, and I went to UC Davis. And I didn't know what I was going to do then, but I knew it would be something related to finance. My summer internship was with an investment bank in San Francisco, which I enjoyed, but I didn't like working on New York hours and living in San Francisco. Started to look for things to do that didn't require working market hours or considering moving to the East Coast. And a friend of mine was an investment officer at CalPERS, and he encouraged me to apply for an internship at CalPERS, which I did. And I started at CalPERS as an intern 20 years ago. And here I am today.
That's wonderful. So tell us about what motivates and drives you in your career. And Sarah, why don't you go ahead and go first this time?
Yeah, I guess what motivates and drives me, I love what I do. It's interesting. I get to learn new things every day, and I guess more importantly, I believe in the mission of CalPERS. It's invigorating to be able to know that what you're doing is not making individuals wealthy, but it is helping provide financial security to the retirees and their families for the state of California. And so knowing that I can do something that I enjoy and provide a service is what motivates me.
That's wonderful. Jane?
I think mainly 2 things. The first one is that I'm always looking for a job that, I wake up, I want to do it. Okay. So, the ever-changing financial markets it just fascinates me. So every day I wake up, I want to see what's going on. And then there's quite a lot of factors, this moving markets that energize me too. The second part is, I think I like solving complicated things. I enjoy the achievement after untangle something. So in the area that in the past 20 years, I'm being more specialized in structured products, which are not straight financial instruments. They are a packaging of a whole bunch of direct financial instruments. You repackage them, and then you redirect the cash flow to fit different risk appetite and in the risk return profile. So how do I untangle a very complicated structure? How do I decompose it? How do I dissect it so that I know my investment is in a place where the risk and return is appropriate? That gives me a lot of enjoyment. So I think that's what drives me. And then I want to also say a little bit that, what has helped me to do this. I think my lawyer's training is very helpful. Not everybody has to have a lawyer's training, but you can train yourself to be not afraid of tedious work. Train yourself to pay attention to details. I think this will very helpful to investment industry. And then also what has helped me is trying to be very efficient. I think, a woman, especially if you raise kids and then, taking care of the household, how efficient you have to be. I kind of especially in my earlier stage in my career, I live in a constant optimization world. Okay, so time is of essence, right? A very, very precious commodity. So when I was sitting in front of my desk, doing all the work, and then we need a restroom break, right? I will not just take a restroom break. I will, go out to talk to my staff and say, or talk to my colleague, quickly discuss about something that I have, question about. And then I will, stop by the assistant's desk telling the person that, okay, can you make a call to this person or, schedule something. And then I will drop documents to the copy machine and then have the machine running. Then I go to the restroom. On the way back, I fill my water bottle, come back, pick up my copies, and then talk to assistant again about, hey, how was that? And then go back to my desk, right? So I kind of want to optimize my route, my time. But that was at the early stage. But as you age, then to slow down a little. But it is very, very crucial, for the investment industry, that if you want to excel earlier in your career, put in a lot of time. This is the way that you accelerate the accumulation of your skill set and then be able to excel later.
That's wonderful. This is a forum about women, but were there men along the way that supported you in your career? And Sarah, why don't you go first?
Yeah, definitely. We spend a lot of time talking about mentors and how important they are, but there's also sponsors and advocates that are important. And early in my career at CalPERS, I definitely had a sponsor and I definitely had an advocate. The sponsor was my friend who encouraged me to apply for the job and recommended me highly to his boss. And my advocate was the man who hired me, Rick Hayes, and he was a strong advocate for me for getting promotions throughout my career. To this day, he continues to be an advocate for me, and so that's been very helpful. And I would say a lot of my colleagues have, male colleagues have also provided some feedback. One thing that Dan Bienvenu has said to me many times is, a woman will not raise her hand and say she's qualified to do the job until she's 110% sure she has 100% of the skills, where a man will stand up and say he's ready to do the job when he only has 40% of the skills. And that there's probably a happy medium between those two, but don't wait until you think you have 100% of the skills you need. Raise your hand earlier than that.
Great advice. Jean?
I think about two parts. I have a set of premature twins. So, want to raise this premature twins as well as trying to balance my job and my career development. I think my husband plays a super important role, that we share all the workload about taking care of kids. And then he's the biggest sponsor for me to be able to, advance in my career. And then the life will be I will wake up 4:30 in the morning and then get to the office at 5:30. My husband will take care of the kids, send them to daycare. in the afternoon, I'm the one who has to make sure that I pick them up by 5:30. And then on the way back home, again, my optimization, what am I going to cook tonight? So when I get home, what do I have to put out from the fridge? At the same time, I have to have this cooker running or something. So this is more like that. And then my husband comes back, and then we have our, the second job, the third job. Yeah. So I think definitely my husband plays a very, very important role in terms of my career. And then on the office side, there are two sets of people, especially in CalPERS here, is critical in terms of my career development. The first set of people is my fixed income bosses, Curtis Ishii, Arnie Phillips, and Kevin Winter. They were the one who hired me and then gave me a portfolio to run independently. And then my career started to shine at that point. I grew that portfolio from like a 5 billion all the way to the 20 billion portfolio, but it is all because Curtis, Arnie, and Kevin has the trust in me, and that enables me to do a lot, to explore a lot more different areas. The second set of CalPERS people, these are, man, who is like very, very incredible, is Eric Bergeson and Dan Bienvenu. Okay, they are the global equity people. They're not fixed income people. Why are they important? It's because, back in 2009, at the bottom of the great financial crisis, fixing is a debt crisis, debt-induced crisis. So fixed income at that time is very constrained in terms of liquidity and balance sheet. But I spot a very, very good opportunity that we can do investments. But fixed income, because of they're under so much pressure that they were not able to give me money to invest in that opportunity, is called TALF, TALF. So I have to go to global equity to say, hey, Eric, are you interested in this, and give me money. I am so appreciative that, Eric Bergeson has the belief in me, and then willing to give me money to invest in that TALF program. And then Dan Bienvenu, he's very brave, go to the board, tell the board that we're going to do this because it involves 16.6 times leverage. So for that one, we earned like huge amount of money after that. And then we are the single biggest borrower from the Fed. That is a home run for us. And then that's kind of like coins that give me the confidence that, yes, in the toughest time that I am able to make the decision, I am able to go against the different, adverse circumstances and then try to get the things done. So I'm really appreciate like Eric and Dan gave me the opportunity and then helped me get that deal executed.
That's outstanding. We're seeing more and more women succeed and grow into high-ranking positions. So what are the differences you've noticed as a result of having more women rising to positions of leadership in the investment industry? Jean, I think it's your turn to start first.
Okay. I actually, yes, there are women rising in the rank. However, in the investment industry, I still feel that most of the women rising up are more in the investor relationship side of it, not really in the actual, investment itself, no matter it's public or private. So I think we still have a long way to go in terms of giving women the opportunity to be advanced in the actual investment.
Sarah?
I guess I noticed fewer blue suits. I remember early in my career going to meetings and just having a whole sea of blue suits. And there's a little more color in the room these days. But I would agree with Jean that there's still a long way to go. Investor relation positions are where you do see a lot of women. So there's improvement, but there's still a lot of room to improve. I would say that, if I look at the CalPERS leadership, there are 3 women sitting in the investment management committee out of 7. So that's good. But I do remember being a few years ago the only woman sitting in that room. So progress is being made, but it's slow.
You both talk about the difference between being in the investor relations side of the house as opposed to being the one who's actually making the investments and leading those decisions. What do we need to do to be more, to get more women into those critical decision-making roles? Sarah, go ahead.
I think it needs to be encouraging young girls to go into STEM related fields. Not that one needs to have a math degree to do investments, but being afraid of math is not going to make anyone go into investments. And at a young age, many girls in elementary school feel that they are not good at math and they quit pursuing anything related to math fields. So we need to encourage young girls to embrace math. We need to encourage, in the work environment, we need to encourage men to provide feedback to women that gives them guidance on how to succeed, not on how to fail. And that, I think, would be helpful in getting more women touching the money, so to speak.
Very good. Jean, do you have an observation?
Oh, I think, 15, 20 years ago, diversity was totally not in people's mind. Like in my previous fixed income group, there were 13 portfolio manager and above. And then I was the only female. And then that situation continues for another 12 years. So, sitting in the conference room with like 12 males making decision in how to invest, you have to earn their respect, right? So what I think, I would encourage women, first of all, you have to know your stuff inside out, become an expert, so that when the questions and things rises, that you are the one that they are looking to get the answer, become the expert. And then the second one is like, we can anticipate questions, anticipate the next step. So these are the things that you can earn respect. The third thing is that, don't be intimidated if you're being questioned or challenged. It's very natural that they will challenge you, not because that you are a female. That's in this world, it's just like everybody challenges everybody. So just don't be intimidated. And then number 4, always think about how can I add value to the team? How can I help? A whole bunch of men and you're the only woman. There's always something that they don't know that that you can help and add value. So, try to do this. I think, the woman will then be seen and then rise.
Great advice. Everyone has obstacles to overcome in their career. What works for you and what advice do you have for our audience in their own career experiences? Sarah?
Yeah, we all have obstacles. I think some things that I do trying to overcome them is to view them as opportunities as opposed to obstacles, and to try and learn from things and be intentional. I've learned very early on that when things didn't go my way at work, being angry at whoever I felt was the obstacle was bad for me. It made me not be in a very positive place. And the person that I was angry with had no idea I was angry with them. They were blissfully unaware that I cared at all. And so just letting go of that and viewing it as, what can I do differently next time, as opposed to viewing it as an obstacle, I think is important. And being intentional, how you frame things matters. You can say, I need to be the smartest person in the room, or you can say, I want to excel at everything I do. And depending on how you frame that, you'll behave very differently. So I think being intentional is important.
Great advice. Jean?
No, I talked earlier that I love to solve complicated issues and I enjoy that. So when obstacle comes, just like Sarah said, I usually view them as opportunity that I can advance myself in terms of my skill set. But sometimes the obstacle comes not from your professional side, it's more on how you deal with the office environment. Those obstacles are actually harder for me. And then those one, I usually rely on my mentors that, I can have it's a phone call away, I can call and then seek for advice. So I would encourage all the participants here today that, you find a mentor that you can trust and then you can talk to, and then it will be very, very helpful along the way.
Wonderful advice. Our last question that we have, what advice do you have for women and people wanting to go into the investment industry? And Sarah, you want to start?
Sure. I think you need to be curious if you want to work in investments, because there's always something new to learn. The market's always different. There's just change. So you have to be adaptable. If you want to get into the investment industry, it's no different than any other industry. You need to create networks. You need to talk to people and find out what their story is. How did they get there? I don't think investments really is any different than any other career path. And what you need to do is find people that can give you advice, network, and if you want to be successful at it, it needs to be something that you're passionate about. Don't just do it because it's out there. There's something that you can be passionate about, and you should follow that as opposed to what you think might be an interesting industry to work in.
All right, thank you. Jean?
I think that we will all need to do a very honest self-assessment, okay? Do you like constant uncertainty or do you prefer stability? Okay. Are you willing to work super hard, especially at the early stage of your career, to accelerate the accumulation of skill? The hours, I'm not kidding. When I was in Goldman doing the interns, we joke about that we operate a 7-Eleven convenience store. Okay. You were in the office before 7 o'clock. You leave your office after 11 o'clock. Okay, this was the hours, but this really, build up your skill set really, really quickly. Okay, and then I think most importantly is passion. Do you have passion for this industry? Okay, if you have passion, the long hours will become very easy.
That's great advice. This was a pleasure to get to meet both of you and allow you to offer your insights. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, providing our audience with some great insights for success in their own careers. Next up, we have another episode of our Leadership Career Journeys conversation, so do not go away. Our C-suite speakers will offer their advice on leadership and career success. We will then take a short break before the keynote discussion with the wonderful Congresswoman Doris Matsui. Thank you all. What a pleasure to be a part of this panel.
Don't be afraid to take chances. Don't be afraid to be wrong sometimes. Don't internalize that in a way that where you create where your expectations are lowered, and don't be afraid to stumble. I don't like the word failure. I think that's too final of a word, but stumble, we're going to do it. If you're going to get to a position of a really high position of leadership, you're going to stumble, you're going to make some mistakes. And you're not going to follow a perfect path there. It's hard, so don't be discouraged by those things and don't be afraid of those things. Just take them in stride, pick yourself up, and keep going.
Just own it. Own who you are, and appreciate it. Love yourself as much as you can. I think the other thing is know your audience. Sure, you can be who you are, and sure, you can be talkative and fun, but you know your audience and know when it's appropriate to be talkative and fun and when you need to be serious and professional.
You make your own luck and you make your own opportunities. And then when the opportunity comes, you have to be open to it, even if it's not exactly what you thought was your path. I had what I would call a zigzag path. I started my career as a very nerdy tax professional. No offense to anybody who's listening that's a tax professional. And now I'm, leading a division of 900 people. And that was not what I really envisioned when I started, but I said yes to opportunities that led me that direction. So I do think you make your own luck, you create your own opportunities, and you have to be ready to say yes to those.
I'd say for me, I took risks. I raised my hand and created opportunities that were not job descriptions neatly laid out on a website. I had some curiosities. I found people that I really felt that I connected with, that inspired me, or at least got me thinking, you seem like you've got it all together. Let me see how I can work with you. And so I'd raise my hand. I'd find out any way to get on that person's team, find ways to become valuable to that person. And in doing so, I feel like I also picked up a lot of very critical mentors and advocates who saw in me potential that I didn't necessarily see in myself, didn't always know what exactly I was pursuing, but they saw this energy and they really saw how genuine I was in terms of a commitment and a passion to grow. So I think in being my genuine self, in speaking up, in raising my hand for opportunities that weren't neatly written down or landing on my lap, I think that's really catapulted me and helped me create some pivotal career moments that I otherwise would have just been plateauing and sort of doing the same thing every day. And I didn't want that for my life. I wanted to elevate. So if you're going to elevate yourself, you have to create your opportunities. You have to speak up and find people you want to work with and be genuine.
I think there's often a lot of emphasis put on having passion for your work, and yes, that's important, but equally it can be, quite a transitory emotion, and it can even mislead you. So I think consciousness of your own emotions and your own emotional investment, and something that I say a lot, my younger son is autistic, and we talk a lot about situations where he finds what's going on around him difficult to manage. And so the mantra there for him is control the controllables. What is it you can control about yourself and your immediate environment that will make you feel more comfortable and better able to perform? And I think that's something that anyone can use.
It's better to score touchdowns instead of kick field goals. So look down the field, be a long-term planner, dig in and roll up your sleeves and let your work speak for itself. You don't have to wave your arms in the air and let everybody know you're a capable female. If you are, they'll figure that out. Your talents and your professionalism and your work quality, that's going to speak for itself. So don't let that be an issue unless someone forces you to.